Part 36. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 351. Chapter 351 Chapter 351 My woman wants to play with you, so you should play well with her. When Mo Zhangxiang said this, he didn't even use the most basic greetings. His face was already torn. Mo Ziwiyuan stopped pretending and turned into what he should be. His eyes were sharp and fierce. Just one look at him would make people laugh. The frightening kind. What do you want? Just ask. Mo Ziwiyuan stared at Mo Zhangxiang as if he was following the negotiating table. Mo Zhangxiang pulled his lips and sneered, staring at Mo Ziwiyuan with the same gaze, his eyes even colder. What do you think I want, Mo Ziwiyuan? You and Mo Mingguo killed my parents and sisters, you say what I want. You can't take my life away. Mo Ziwiyuan had absolute confidence that she couldn't take her life away. How do you know I can't take it away? Mo Mingguo is the first, and you are the second. Since the hatred and revenge between us has begun, it will not stop. There is only one situation to stop it, then either you die or I die. Mo Zhangxiang emphasized every word, and the hatred inside was so strong. Mo Ziwiyuan frowned, his eyes half squinted, and his face was gloomy. You take half of the Mo family's property, which belonged to your father back then. This is my condition. Ah dash. Mo Zhangxiang sneered and stared at Mo Ziwiyuan with a cold face, his eyes were blood red. Mo Ziwiyuan, do you think these things can bring back so many people in my family? I'm afraid you are thinking too beautifully. What I just said is very clear, either you die or I die, and our conversation today is completely unnecessary. As soon as Mo Zhangxiang finished speaking, Jin Runs pointed his gun at Mo Zhangxiang. Momo, Uncle wants to talk to you carefully. If you don't want to talk, then Uncle can only use the method you said to solve the problem. All choices are made by yourself. Mo Ziwiyuan sat lazily on the sofa, his face there was no expression at all. Mo Zhangxiang looked at the black muzzle of the gun and raised his eyebrows slightly. There was no panic expression on his face, and there was even a smile on his face. Do you think I will be afraid? Mo Ziwiyuan, have you forgotten, you found someone to do this to me and my sister years ago. Are you sure I am still the little girl I was back then and will not be able to resist at all? Mo Ziwiyuan reacted as quickly as possible and saw Jin Run's head being pressed against someone's head, and then his own temple was pressed against him. A sinister-looking man stood behind him with a cold voice. The woman who wanted to kill me did not have my consent. Mo Ziwiyuan's face was dark. He had not been in such a completely passive situation for many years. Mo Zhangxiang stood up, walked to Mo Ziwiyuan, and stared at him condescendingly. Mo Ziwiyuan, if I were still the little girl back then, do you think I would do this? Mo Ziwiyuan narrowed his eyes and stared at her. I did underestimate you. My negligence back then made a wolf cub grow up. Mo Ziwiyuan, do you think I should kill you now or not, or should I hand you over to the police? Mo Zhangxiang said to himself. I'll chop him up for you. Come home with me quickly. Suyuans licked his cheeks and wanted to pull the trigger and get to know him so that the woman could go home with him as soon as possible. Mo Zhangxiang glared at him, turned and left. Throw the person out, I want to solve it myself. Depend on dash. Suyuans took away the wooden warehouse dissatisfied and warned Mo Ziwiyuan fiercely, my woman wants to play with you, so you should play with her well. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 352. Chapter 352 Chapter 352 You are not. Mo Ziwiyuan and his assistant were thrown out of the hotel. Jin Runs drove the car. Mr. Mo, I think I have seen that man before. The little lunatic of the Su family, Mo Ziwiyuan said with a gloomy face and a cold voice. Jin Runs frowned tightly and analyzed rationally. Mr. Mo, if it were him, then Mo Zhangxiang would be difficult to deal with. After all, that person is a madman, and madmen will always act out of common sense. Do you think we should change the plan? Well, have you contacted Zikang? No, the eldest young master doesn't want to answer the phone call from home. He probably won't come back. Do you think we should send the second young master away first? Send Zihao away, and he will attract more attention. Let him mix by himself first, and we will talk about it later. I have transferred a large part of my assets to various countries, and they will all be transferred into one account at that time. You can just leave. Then Jinrun looked at the message sent by his assistant and reported it to Mozwiyuan. Listen. Well, let's go to Bian South Road, Mozwiyuan said. Zhang Xiaoxiao came out of the closet, looked at the man standing next to Mo Zhangxiang, and frowned. Mo Zhangxiang looked at her nervously and explained, when I was young, I. Is he gone? Zhang Xiao asked. Well, let's go. You should go back to Ruchin when you are young. Fu Chenxiao can protect your safety. She has completely fought with Mo Ziyuan. She looks so similar to Zhang Xiaoxiao that it is really not suitable for her to stay in Rongcheng. Safety. Mo Ziyuan is not so easy to deal with, nor is he easily defeated. It is indeed unsafe to stay in Chengdu. However, she agreed to Zhao Huiyan to join the crew and will stay in Chengdu for a while. She is also worried that Mo Zhangxiang will be captured. She did something dangerous without letting her know. I can't go back for the time being. I still have work in Chengdu, and I will stay in the film and television city. Recently, Zhang Xiao said. Are you with Zhao Huiyan? Mo Zhangxiang asked. Well, it won't take long to make a guest appearance in a movie, Zhang Xiao explained. If she had to stay in Rongcheng alone, Mo Zhangxiang would definitely ask Su Yuans to take her home, but she was still relieved when she was with Zhao Huiyan. They had nothing to say to Zhang Xiaoxiao. She won't be put in danger. Okay, tell me before you go back. Well, sister, can you let him send me there? Zhang Xiao pointed at Su Yuans. Mo Zhangxiang glanced at him, then nodded, okay, I'll let him send you off. In the car. Zhang Xiao was sitting in the passenger seat, looking ahead expressionlessly, and said calmly, will you protect my sister for the rest of your life? I will eliminate all the dangers lurking around her, and then we will grow old with her, Su Yuans replied. Zhang Xiaoxiao slightly raised the corners of his lips, with a clear smile on his face, and said sincerely to Su Yuans, thank you. It would be great if someone could protect her, so that she could be happy forever. Su Yuans frowned and looked at Zhang Ziaxi from the corner of his eye. The appearance of Zhang Ziaxi now had not changed at all from the Zhang Ziaxi he had seen that day, but his temperament was completely different. Who are you talking about? Zhang Shishi blinked his eyelids slightly and looked out the car window. You are not. Su Yuans answered firmly. Zhang Ziaxi refused to answer his question. Su Yuans, who had only met him once, could tell. So what about her fifth uncle? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 353. Chapter 353. Chapter 353. I didn't know him when I was young. Rongcheng Film and Television City. Xiao Shi, who sent you here? Zhao Huiyan asked Zhang Shi with a smile. God knows how nervous he was when he saw that the person driving the car was a man. He was the one who called him here. What happened to him? Question, according to Fu Chenxiao's temper, haha. A friend. Zhang Xiaoxiao answered him while biting his chopsticks. Zhao Huiyan's eyes twitched uneasily, and the smile on her face was stiff. When was I a kid? When did you have friends in Chengdu? Zhang Xiaoxiao handed the lunch box in his hand to Zhao Huiyan, twisting it gently and said, Uncle Zhao, This lunchbox is not delicious at all, it is too greasy. Zhao Huiyan glanced at the lunchbox in his hand. In order to stay in shape, he did not dare to eat greasy food. This lunchbox was custom made. Half of it was made of grass, and there was a stewed pork ribs. It was greasy, but the little ancestor said it was greasy. It's just greasy. When I was young, what do you want to eat? Uncle Zhao asked his assistant to buy it. Zhang Xiao yawned and lay down on the chair where Zhao Huiyan was resting. He closed his eyes and said, Uncle Zhao, I'm sleepy. Let's go to sleep first. Zhao Huiyan. What did this child do? He was so sleepy, and he hadn't answered his question yet. Forget it, he might as well go find it himself. Zhao Huiyan thought and asked his assistant to find out who sent Zhang Xiao. The most indispensable thing in the film and television city is surveillance. Soon his assistant copied the video that could be seen clearly on the driver's seat. Boss, do you know this man? If I knew him and could recruit him to our company, he would definitely be popular with his looks. When the assistant saw Su Yuan's face, the first thing he thought of was to recruit him to his company, so he asked Zhao Huiyan so anxiously. Zhao Huiyan glanced at the video picture, frowned, picked up her phone and called Fu Chenxiu. Boss, when did you meet Su Yuan's when you were a child? Zhao Huiyan asked as soon as the call was connected. I didn't know him when I was young, Fu Chenxiu replied with a cold voice. Zhao Huiyan became nervous now. Fu Chenxiu said that Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't know Su Yuan, so what happened if Su Yuan sent Zhang Xiaoxi here? That guy was a difficult guy to deal with. If anything happened to Zhang Xiaoxi, he shouldn't. The idea is not easy to solve, it's a headache. Boss, listen to me, when I came to see me today, the person who sent her was Su Yuan's. Are you really sure they don't know each other? Fu Chenxiu pursed his thin lips as sharply as thin, his facial features were cold and hard, and his long eyebrows on the temples were knitted together. I'll be there in the evening, please be careful and don't let her run around. Boss, are you coming over? Zhao Huiyan knew that he had been very busy recently to help Wen Runian. Yeah, Fu Chenxiu replied. Zhao Huiyan talked for a while, and sure enough, as long as it was related to Zhang Xiaoxi, he would come no matter how busy he was. Boss, you go directly to the hotel, and I will take Xiaoxi back to the hotel. Zhao Huiyan glanced at Zhang Shi, who was sleeping soundly. Boss, how are you going to deal with the Mo family's affairs? Zhao Huiyan also read the news and knew that the Mo family's affairs were making a big fuss in the city, and Zhang Xiaoxiao was from the Mo family. She originally asked Zhang Xiaoxiao to investigate slowly, but now, such a big thing has happened. Is there no need for them to take action? The Mo family will be seriously injured directly. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 354. Chapter 354. Chapter 354. A feeling of dizziness. I know that the Mo family doesn't know Xiao Xiao yet. Even if he knew about it, he wouldn't dare to do anything because I would prevent him from having a chance to do anything, Fu Chenxiu said with certainty. If we were talking about the people who knew that Fu Chen was protecting Zhang Xiaoxiao, then no one would dare to take action, fearing that some desperados would not know, which would cause trouble. Boss, if Mo Ziwi Yuan gets too anxious and jumps over the wall, it will be troublesome. Why don't you just let Xiao Xiao continue to investigate? Let's wait until the Mo family incident is over and then let Xiao Xiao investigate. In this way, the Mo family will still be there in the end. Wouldn't it be better if they were all the same problem? Zhao Huiyan suggested. Do you think that with the little girl's character, if you ask her not to check her now, she will be well behaved? Zhao Huiyan. Indeed, with Zhang Xiaoxi's character, it is impossible for her to give up the investigation now that she has started to investigate. The little girl is completely following someone. As long as she starts, unless he gives up on his own initiative. If you don't let her give up, then she will just keep pursuing it until the end. Zhao Huiyan's head hurt. Boss, why don't you cut off all the clues to her? If you don't give her clues, it will take at least about a year and a half to take her back to Ruchen. It's useless. She was checking on her own. She was checking unexpectedly after the clues I provided. When Zhang spent $500,000 an hour that day, he asked someone to check. The little girl found someone to check on her own. Now she knows how much is not within his control. Well, Zhao Huiyan was completely disappointed now. He knew how someone who grew up with someone could not find other channels. Now his task was to take good care of the person. Xiao Shi, wake up! Zhao Huiyan called Zhang Xiao several times in a row. Zhang Xiao opened his eyes in a daze and looked at Zhao Huiyan with sleepy eyes and breath. Uncle Zhao, what's the matter? It's 1 hour, Uncle Zhao is done, let's go back to the hotel. Zhao Huiyan looked at her with a smile. Oh, okay. Zhang Xiao stood up from the recliner. A sudden feeling of dizziness hit him, and he took 2 steps back. This made Zhao Huiyan turn pale with fright. He quickly stretched out his hand to support her and asked worriedly, Xiao Xiao, what's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable somewhere? This dizzy feeling lasted for a while, and Zhang Xiao finally recovered. His face was wrinkled and he pressed his temples with his hands. It seemed that he had slept for too long, and then he woke up violently and began to suffer from insufficient blood supply to the brain. Zhang Xiao shook his head and waited until the dizziness completely passed before he answered Zhao Huiyan, Uncle Zhao, I'm fine. I just got up too quickly. Zhao Huiyan touched her forehead uneasily. She didn't have a fever. Her heart was in her throat before she put it back in her stomach. Little ancestor, don't scare Uncle Zhao and me. Zhang Xiao pulled his lips and smiled, Uncle Zhao, don't worry, it's okay. Just put your heart back in your stomach. It's just dizziness. It's not like when I was taken out by you and broke my hand when I was 12 years old. Zhao Huiyan's handsome face turned dark instantly. She thought back to the time when he kindly took this girl out to play. The girl excitedly said she was going to ride a horse, so he let her go. Who knew that her hand was broken and was repaired badly by Fuchin Xiu? Well, he didn't want to think about that week of gloom. Little ancestor, can you hope that your Uncle Zhao will be kind to you? Zhao Huiyan glared at this heartless little girl. Zhang Xiao stuck out his tongue mischievously, and said with a very sinister tone, Uncle Zhao, I just like to see you being bullied by Uncle Wu. It's the best when you can't resist. Zhao Huiyan. What kind of fate does he have? End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 355. Chapter 355. Chapter 355. I am deeply afraid of my auditory hallucinations. Hotel. Zhao Huiyan looked at the table full of dishes, her face twitched, and she was more worried. When I was young, Uncle Zhao was not afraid of you eating, but could you finish all the dishes? We can't waste food. Zhang Xiao frowned and glanced at the dishes on the table, such as coconut chicken, sour bean minced meat, sizzling eggplant, stir-fried green vegetables, and stir-fried lotus root. Each dish had a large portion, and his expression was very calm. Uncle Zhao, isn't that too much food? I can't finish it because you are a grown man. Zhao Huiyan. When I was young, Uncle Zhao was a popular artist with 100 million fans, so body management was very necessary. Zhao Huiyan flipped up her hair. Zhang Xiao rolled his eyes at him and scooped a bowl of chicken soup for himself. When he drank it, the sweetness of coconut was very refreshing. Zhang Xiao drank another bowl before adding another to himself, completely immersed in his own world. Zhao Huiyan was eating a vegetable salad and watched Zhang Xiao finish a table full of vegetables. Her jaw almost dropped to the floor in shock. Xiao, you. Zhang Xiao wiped the corners of his mouth and looked at Zhao Huiyan with clear black and white pupils. Uncle Zhao, Don't look at me like that. I haven't eaten since morning, your lunch food is unpalatable, and I'm gaining weight. It's normal to eat. If you look like this, I'll think you're bankrupt. Zhao Huiyan. Can't this girl just hope for him? He was just worried that if she ate so much, she would not be able to digest it and would feel uncomfortable. It actually made her think that she was bankrupt. Ha! Zhang Xiao took a breather. After eating and drinking, she started to feel sleepy. Uncle Zhao, have you opened the room for me? Well, the presidential suite, the top floor, Zhao Huiyan said. Then I'll go to sleep first. Zhang Xiao said hello to him and took the elevator to the top floor. Finally, he brushed his face and entered the room. He washed himself briefly and lay on the bed sleepily. He checked his phone and check out the latest news from the Mo family. Mo Ziwiyuan's methods are indeed powerful. In just one day, he has almost achieved public relations. Now the internet is divided into two groups, those who support it and those who do not. Those who support it are because the official has investigated the two incidents in the revelations and proved that Mo Mingguo is innocent. Zhang Xiao knew from Mo Zhangxiang that everything she revealed was true. As for the official statement that Mo Mingguo was innocent, she didn't know what methods Mo Ziwiyuan used. Things started to turn around again. Zhang Xiaoxiao sent a message to Mo Zhangxiang, asking her what the situation was. Mo Zhangxiang replied quickly, "It's okay. We're under control. We won't let Mo Mingguo come out." As soon as she said this, Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that she was prepared to deal with it. After a few simple chats, she closed her eyes and fell asleep while holding her mobile phone. Fu Chenexai rushed to the hotel and looked at Zhang Shi, who was sleeping dishonestly. His eyes were full of affection, and he went over to hold him in his arms. Zhang Xiao felt someone hugging him in a daze. He opened his eyes in a daze and saw the man's general appearance. He arched his little head into his arms and called out coquettishly, "Uncle Wu." "Uncle Wu is here," Fu Chenexai answered her. "Uncle Wu, I miss you so much. When I'm young, seeing you in pain makes me very painful." "Uncle Wu, I'm back," Zhang Xiao whispered. Fu Chenexai's dark pupils shook violently. There was a sense of panic on the calm and composed man's face, and his whole body was tense, fearing that he was hearing hallucinations. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 356. Chapter 356. Chapter 356. Will you leave again? Fifth uncle, why don't you answer me? Don't you miss me? Zhang Xiaoxiao curled up in Fu Chenexai's arms and murmured to himself, his voice soft and soft. Fu Chenexai's deep black eyes were filled with various emotions, his stern face was tense, his straight thin lips were slightly raised, his voice was hoarse and low. "You're back, aren't you?" "Well, I'm back," Zhang Xiaoxi answered him softly. Her affirmative answer made Fu Chenexai's eyes turn scarlet instantly. If you look closely, you will find that his eyes are moist. When facing a man who is unchanging in everything, his eyes are red and there are veins on his temples. One by one, the bumps grew, because of the excitement. "Will you leave again?" The voice of a man is like that of a child. He is afraid of losing his most beloved thing and makes sure again and again. "Will you leave again?" Zhang Xiaoxiao put his hands on the man's neck and hugged him. His eyes were still squinting in confusion, but his mind was clear. "If I don't leave, I won't be able to leave you, Uncle Wu." Fu Chenexai's heart was trembling violently. He lowered his head and kissed the woman's smooth forehead, down to her nose. Anyway, he didn't miss any part. He almost integrated the woman into his flesh and blood, so that she was no longer separated from him. The stars in the dark night sky twinkled, but there was a heart-pounding sound in the room. The morning light was bright the next day. Fujinexiu's cold eyes were filled with soft light, and his slender fingers traced the girl's white cheek, expressing greed, attachment, and love. Although his movements were gentle, they still aroused the sleeping person. Awakened. Zhang Shishi's delicate eyebrows twisted slightly before he slowly opened his eyes. His long eyelashes flickered and he blinked. His eyes looked at the man, and his small mouth pouted dissatisfiedly. "Uncle Wu, you woke me up." Fujinexiu's lips curved upward, and the soft light in his eyes almost overflowed. "Are you so sleepy? My little lazy cat." Zhang Xiao moved his body, but the physical discomfort came over him immediately. With a dark face, he looked at Fujinexiu dissatisfied. "Uncle Fifth, it's not because of you." "Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Fujinexiu asked with his eyebrows tightened, seemingly worried but not feeling worried. Looking at his expression, Zhang Xiaoxiu's face darkened again. She felt like he was picking up her yin and replenishing her yang. "Uncle Wu, I'm hungry. Whatever you want to eat, I'll have it brought to you." Fujinexiu reached out and took the phone in his hand, dialing the hotel's internal number. Zhang didn't want to get up even when he was a child. He lay on the bed. After telling him what he wanted to eat, he put his arms around someone's waist and closed his eyes to get some sleep. "Don't sleep. Get up and clean yourself before going." Fujinexiu picked him up. After all the hard work, Zhang Xiao was not sleepy at all. He was sitting on the sofa playing with his mobile phone while waiting for the food delivery. "Hong, don't forget to come to the film and television base for filming today," Zhao Huiyan told her on WeChat. "Well, Uncle Zhao, have you already started work?" "I have been at the film and television base at 5 o'clock. You can ask your fifth uncle to send you over later." "Uncle Wu, if you want to go back to Ruchin, I'll take a taxi myself." "I'll ask my assistant to pick you up." Zhao Huiyan didn't trust her alone. "Good." As soon as Zhang Xiaoxiao finished replying, his phone was taken away by someone. As soon as Zhang Xiao looked up, he saw someone with wet hair, a bathrobe hanging loosely on his body, and a figure that made people blush. Cough 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 cough. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 357. Chapter 357. Chapter 357. 2 weeks pregnant. Zhang Xiao coughed to cover up his infatuation. "Uncle Wu, what are you doing with my phone?" Fujinexiu's slender fingers were swiping across the screen of her mobile phone. His eyes stayed on the chat history between her and Zhao Huiyan. The expression on his face did not change, and his voice was light. "I still want to make a movie." "Well, if you go, you can see the idol." Zhang Xiaoxiu's eyes shone with excitement. Fujinexiu frowned slightly. "Come back to Ruchin with me. If you want to meet celebrities, you can go to the next annual meeting of your Uncle Zhao's entertainment company." "I don't want to go back to Ruchin, I still want to find." Zhang Xiaoxiao swallowed back what he wanted to say. "I just want to make a movie, not just to see the stars." "No, you have to go back with me. You can make movies later. As long as your Uncle Zhao is here, you can make any movie you want." Fujinexiu's attitude was a bit tough and commanding. What Zhang Xiaoxiao disliked the most since she was a child was his desire for control, so she opposed him at that time. She didn't expect that it was such an opposition that made this man almost leave her. Thinking of those years when she was lying there, what the man said in her ear made her heart throb and hurt, and she said coquettishly, "Uncle Fifth, I'll go back to Ruchin after I finish filming the scenes for a few days, okay?" "No," Fujinexiu replied to her without thinking. What a joke. It's his limit now that he doesn't have her by his side all the time. "Fifth uncle." Zhang Xiaoxiao pouted, aggrieved, and stared pitifully at Fujinexiu. Fujinexiu almost relented. As long as he thought of that man, he couldn't let her stay here. "No, follow me back to Ruchin." After several attempts to soften the blow to no avail, Zhang lost his temper when he was a child. This was exactly the same as someone else. I'm going to go. If Uncle Wu doesn't let me go, I'll. Just what? Fu Chenxiu stared at her coldly. His eyes were as if he wanted to tear her to pieces, and his handsome face was horribly dark. When Zhang Xiaoxiao saw the look in his eyes, he paused for a moment and took back the words he spoke. His eyelids drooped slightly and he said weakly, I don't want to go back yet. Fu Chenxiu didn't say anything, just looked at her with a stern face, and the atmosphere in the air suddenly became tense. Fortunately at this moment, the door rang. Zhang jumped up from the sofa at the first hour, and then a sudden feeling of dizziness hit her, causing her to sit back on the sofa. Uncle Wu. Fu Chenxiu hugged Zhang Xiaoxiao in his arms in an instant, and his whole body was extremely nervous. Xiaoxiao, what's going on? Uncle Wu, I'm dizzy. Zhang Xiaoxiao's cheeks turned white and his forehead was covered with sweat. He curled up in Fu Chenxiu's arms. Fu Chenxiu picked up Zhang Xiaoxiao on the spot and rushed out the door without even having time to change his clothes. Hospital. Fu Chenxiu stared at the doctor with his dark eyes, his face tense. How is she? The female doctor pushed up her glasses on the bridge of her nose, pointed at Fu Chenxiu with a straight face, and began to educate her. I see you are quite young. How come you don't even know the most basic thing about not having in the early stages of pregnancy? Fu Chenxiu. Fortunately, it's nothing serious. I'm only 2 weeks pregnant now. I can't do it anymore. Go back and buy more books to read. Now go see your wife. The female doctor gave Fu Chenxiu a few words and went to work. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 358. Chapter 358. Chapter 358. What I'm most afraid of is hearing the doctor say that it's good to eat and drink well. Fu Chenxiu froze in place, like a statue. Many people passing by couldn't help but look at him twice, especially the kind of person like Fu Chenxiu who couldn't be ignored when standing among the crowd. That kind of person. Fu Chenxiu stood there for 10 minutes, then walked quickly with his long legs to the ward where Zhang Xiao was staying. Zhang Xiaoxi, who was lying on the hospital bed, saw Zhang Xiao walking in quickly and standing at the end of her hospital bed, staring at her with deep cold eyes. Zhang Xiaoxi looked at him with a puzzled face. Uncle Wu. Fu Chenxiu walked over, held her chin with one hand, and kissed her tenderly. Zhangxi. Fu Chenxiu just pecked lightly, chewing a green smile on the corner of his mouth, and stared at He Jiang's childhood eyes, which were soft and warm. His smile made Zhang Xiaoxiao feel nervous. The boss was stimulated by something. Could it be because Baiyu Eguang returned to her own body and did something to make him unhappy? Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the boss anxiously, forced out a smile that was uglier than crying, and asked, Uncle Fifth, what's wrong with you? Fu Chenxiu touched the top of Zhang Shishi's hair with a warm smile, tracing back and forth along the delicate lines of her face. His voice was hoarse. Xiaoxi, you didn't feel any discomfort there? Zhang Xiaoxiao was completely confused. Could she say that she had just come back? She was inexplicably possessed by Baiyu Eguang's return. She also didn't know what happened when the boss was with Baiyu Eguang. She had no idea why she was lying in the hospital now. Uncle Wu, I don't feel uncomfortable anywhere. Did the doctor say I have something wrong? Zhang Xiao asked nervously. Oh my god. If there is something wrong with Baiyu Eguang and she cannot live long, what should she do? Help her bear the pain of the illness and then die? Zhang Xiao found that she couldn't imagine it at all. The more I imagined this, the more my heart sank, and the more unlucky I felt. Fu Chenxiu frowned slightly, looking at her with cold eyes still full of soft and doting. Silly girl, didn't the doctor tell you? When Zhang was young, the doctor told her, you should eat when you need to eat, and drink when you need to drink. It was like giving her a death notice. Although Zhang Xiao had been a doctor and had seen many births, old age, illness, and death, if this happened to her now, she would totally not be able to accept it and her mentality would break down. Zhang Xiao couldn't accept it and changed the subject. Uncle Wu, don't tell me, I don't want to hear it either. Well, she admitted that she was very afraid of hearing bad news, so she chose to avoid it. She didn't hear it with her own ears, so the burden on her heart was not so heavy. When Fu Chenxiao saw her expression of rejection, his resolute handsome face changed from gentle to ugly. His eyes fixed on Zhang Xiao were dark and sharp, like a leopard holding back his temper. Don't you like it? Zhang Xiao. What do you like? Do you like him? Wasn't she obvious enough? Just need a confession. Zhang Xiaoxiu's confused and doubtful expression irritated Fu Chenxiao. Someone snorted coldly and left the ward with a sullen face. Zhang Xiao was confused during the whole process, with big question marks. Why did she anger this man? Did she say something wrong? She only said a few words from the beginning to the end, and not one of them was against him. What is going on? She is so difficult. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 359. Chapter 359. Chapter 359 to report. Zhang Shi didn't think about the big boss. The first thing she should do now was to figure out how Miss Baiyu Eguang went back. Didn't the garbage system tell her that Baiyu Eguang was already gone? How could she still occupy her body? It's scary to be in an empty world for so long. Zhang Shishi had too many questions in her mind, and she had to call the garbage system out to help her resolve her doubts. Garbage system, come out, I have something to ask you. Garbage system, host, what do you want from me? Zhang was grinding his teeth when he was a child. At this time, he was still pretending to be crazy with him. She wanted to crush it to death. Explain, what's going on with that Baiyu Eguang? Didn't you clearly tell me that she had left? Now she suddenly appears and takes over. I still can't receive the memory of her getting along with the boss after losing her body. Tell me what's going on. Garbage system, host, Baiyu Eguang is indeed gone. I have never encountered the situation you mentioned before. How about you give me time and allow me to go back and check the information? Zhang almost fainted when he was young. He wanted to send her away without knowing a word. Does she seem like such an easy person to talk to? The deceit was all over her head. You just want to get rid of me like this. Garbage system, host, I have indeed never encountered such a situation, and I did not lie to you. Zhang Xiao had always been fooled by it. Hasn't she been fooled by it so many times? Now I am being deceived, and in the future I will be cheated, so I exploded. Stop talking to me about this. We modern people can still do whatever it takes to get married. I don't believe you don't have this function. Quid 10,000 Steps said that even if you really don't have this function, you haven't encountered the same thing as me in so many years. Garbage system, host, there are so many, at least among the people I am responsible for. Your situation has never happened. I have to report it to see if other people have encountered such a situation. This process is very long, so host, don't worry. Zhang Xiao sneered, if you report it to the superior, I'll ask you how long it will take to review it, 1 month or 2 months, or will you wait until I have a problem and you are trying to help me solve it? Garbage system, host, not a month, only a day or 2 at most. We are still very professional. Zhang Xiaoxi, they still call this kind of professional. I really don't know what people call people who really solve problems on the same day. If she appears again, can you send her back to modern times? Zhang Xiaoxiao just had a small wish in his heart. If Miss Bayu Egwang appears again, just give her body back. What's the big deal? Yes, she still wants to go back to modern times and continue to be a nobody. Garbage system, host, this is not my decision. Whether you can go back or not is up to the higher UPS. Zhang Xiao, she's coming back. What else are you going to do with me? Are we two sharing the same body? Garbage system, we will try our best to help you solve the problem. Zhang Xiaoxi, I don't want to discuss this issue with you now. I'm asking you now, can I see what happened between Bayu Egwang and the big brother? I don't know what happened between them at all now. Garbage system, host, she appeared suddenly, I have no memory of her appearance. Zhang Xiao. There are 10,000 words in my mind that I don't know whether to say or not. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 360. Chapter 360. Chapter 360. Answer me honestly. Garbage system, host, I can hear your inner voice, stop scolding me. Zhang Xiaoxi, you are the one who is scolding me. If it doesn't work, please change the system for me. It's best to change to one with some kind of cheat finger and big hooks. Garbage system, it also wants to be upgraded to the kind that can fly into the sky with its host, but isn't this upgraded? But being disliked is also the first time I have been disliked. It's difficult for my wife. Garbage system, host, this special situation can be regarded as a mistake in my work. You can ask me a question, and I will tell you everything I know. The garbage system was so good. Zhang Xiao was stunned for a moment. She had a chance to ask questions, but she couldn't waste it. She had to ask an important one. Garbage system, host, have you thought about it? The garbage system can know what Zhang is thinking in his head, so he is nervous now. If she asks herself something beyond her ability, he will steal the database again. If he is discovered, he will really be laid off. What are you urging? Zhang Xiao was extremely irritable towards the garbage system. He must cherish this extremely difficult opportunity. He thought for a moment before answering, I want to know why I came here. The garbage system breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, what she asked was not a tricky question. Host, you came here because you choked on the water you drank. You don't remember. Zhang Xiao sneered, garbage system, do you want to treat me like an idiot? Stop pretending to be stupid here and answer me honestly. Garbage system, host, I am answering you honestly. You came here because you choked on drinking water. Fortunately, the garbage system is just a virtual thing. If the real Zhang Xiao had beaten it, the irritable girl was online instantly, don't me. I don't believe that people can travel through time after death. This is not consistent. I don't believe in common sense. Tell me, why did you choose me to come here? You said you would tell me everything you knew, so why do you still want to cheat? It's a system, is it okay if it wants to pretend to be dead? Obviously it can't. It has never told Zhang Xiao that if the host really has a strong opinion against it, then it will really be laid off and replaced by someone else, and it will be remade from scratch. Sometimes when I want to stand out, it's really painful. Why, you don't want to answer me? Okay, then please don't show up in front of me again. Zhang Xiaoxi's tone of I won't force you to do whatever you want lit up a red light in the garbage system's performance appraisal. The garbage system is almost burning up its own system at this moment. If it were a human, it would be sweating profusely by now. Okay, if you don't want to answer, forget it. Anyway, even if I know, I can't go back, Zhang Xiao said calmly. The red light kept flashing in the performance appraisal of the garbage system, and he was about to be warned. He said hurriedly, host, you need to change your anxious personality. Shouldn't I go through the information? Zhang Shi, huh. There are some systems that don't know their own potential unless you push them. The garbage system is too difficult, be patient, it takes time to read the data. Well, I'll give you 5 minutes, Zhang Xiao said compassionately. End of this chapter.